Kate and I, as Karen was saying, we're going to walk you through some of our experiences in very quick 30 minutes on how you can innovate at speed. So Kate and I are both designers. We have a graphic design background, so we appreciate all those nice little touches to design. And at Thoughtworks, what we did is, rather than acquiring a design agency, which is becoming quite common now with big technology companies, they go out, buy a design agency and think it's going to work. But what we did at Thoughtworks is we actually did it a bit differently. We actually decided that we would grow our design talent organically. So Kate, you've been here a lot longer than I have, so would you like to run through why we actually did that?
Yes, so we certainly did buck the trend because all of our competitors were busy buying up design studios. The reason why we took a different approach and probably a longer journey at acquiring design was really down to culture. So Thoughtworks have over a 20-year history of doing agile software delivery, and core to that is a culture of collaboration and teamwork. So our team's always co-located, and designers work in partnership, pairing up with developers. So back then, at the time, the classic design studio has quite a different approach to design. So they tend to design in isolation and then throw the design over the wall to a delivery team. They don't actually partner with them. So we knew that was never going to work for us. The other thing, of course, was Thoughtworks also had to change. So we wanted to develop design thinking across the entire organisation. So we knew that we had to actually grow, employ and grow our designers across all of our offices globally. So we got there in the end. But enough about Thoughtworks. So we're here to talk about innovation. And the thing that drives innovation at Thoughtworks is design thinking. You've heard a lot of that today. We really see design thinking as a mindset. It's a mindset that begins with observation, going out and really seeing what our customers are doing and asking genuine questions out of a real spirit of inquiry. It's also about connecting all of the dots and understanding how their motivations drive their behaviours. It's about doing experiments, doing lots of lightweight experiments, and it's about asking good questions. It's having a genuine curiosity and the ability to validate our ideas. So businesses have really embraced design thinking over the last few years, and I think that there's really a couple of habits of designers that businesses have seen can make a real difference to their bottom line. And the first of these is an absolute obsession with the customer. So designers never really design for themselves. They're always designing for someone else. And the source of inspiration rarely just comes from their own imagination. It actually comes from observing what their customers are doing and what their customers actually want. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is the thing that designers have that isn't unique, but it's real tolerance for failure. So designers, we don't even think of our little mistakes as failures. We're constantly exploring lots of ideas before we get to the good idea. So making lots of little micro mistakes along the way. And it's through doing that we start to learn what's working, what's not working. And that learning mindset is absolutely key to innovation. And businesses that can learn as quickly as possible from their failures are the ones that are going to do well in the market. So Johnny mentioned before the Stanford D School design thinking approach. If you really want to accelerate design thinking in your organisation, you could certainly just do the D School crash course. It's a 2-hour course, freely available online. We do it all the time with our clients. And we also, broadly speaking, do follow this approach. And the thing about this approach is it starts with that first step, empathy. And that's all about going out and having a real conversation with your customers. Let's talk about Target. So Target is a very traditional retail business, $4 billion annually. Up until about 2014, they really didn't have much of a digital presence. And they came to us to help improve their digital presence, working from a very low base. So they had a fuzzy idea about what they wanted, and so we decided, well, let's go out and talk to customers to really identify what problems they're having. So luckily for us, we were working directly with the exec at Target. And we love working with executives because it means decisions get made so quickly. As soon as execs witness something, they can act on it immediately. They've got that authority. So we're working with execs from both the business and technology, so the head of customer experience, as well as the CTO, head of digital. And we wanted to really understand their customers. As it turns out, this is a fair depiction of their customers. So their primary customer is mothers, mums of all ages. And mothers, as we all know, there's a number of mums in the room, very time poor. But one thing they all have in common, they all have time to shop. So their mums were also very loyal Target customers. So that made it quite easy to have that conversation with them. So on day one of the engagement, we kicked things off by working directly with this small exec team to workshop an interview script. And the plan was that on that first day, we would go down to a Target store in Geelong and interview customers. So pretty brave thing to do if you're a bunch of execs, but they were totally up for it. So we workshopped the script, and then we went down to the store, and in that we actually split up into small teams. So we had teams of two, a thought worker and a Target exec, and we got through 56 interviews on that very first day. Short interviews, but very much in context, customers in the Target store shopping. And what we were really fishing for, searching for, was their problems. What issues were they having? We continued throughout the project to go back to various Target stores. So this was the first of 5 visits that we made with the exec in tow. So this is the next stage of design thinking, and this can all happen really very quickly. This morning we did all these 5 steps in 3 hours. So we're still on day 1 here with this particular engagement. So after we'd done our 56 interviews, we came back to the office and we analysed them to understand what insights can we see? What are some of the common problems? And out of that, we were able to identify that there were kind of 3 big common problems that we saw across all of those interviews. So the first one was a genuine fear of missing out. So these mums are so busy that they don't have time to pour through product catalogues and do their research, but they still want to find out ahead of all of their girlfriends about that limited edition Jean-Paul Gaultier handbag that's going to be available on this date, and when's the next sale happening. So they want that information. So we thought, great, that's something that we can fix. The next one was out of stocks. So if mums have taken time out of their day to go into a store and find a product that they've seen on sale and it's out of stock, then that's really disappointing and it's time wasting. And the third thing was price tags with the incorrect price. So this was something that happens a lot during sales, where the markdown happens on the system but is not reflected on the price tag. Once again, super annoying, but kind of easy to fix if you think about it. So moving along rapidly, and we're still in the first week of discovery, we started ideating, and we now had a problem to focus on. Well, 3 problems to focus on. So it went from being a very hazy brief on day one to actually we've got a purpose now. This is how we can improve the experience for our customers. So we started coming up with some product ideas. This can happen really quickly, within an hour. You start to get a bit of brain drain if you do this ideation for too long anyway. And we came up with ideas like, let's just build a barcode scanner into the app so that when mothers are in store, they can just quickly scan the product and see what the correct price is. So we started sketching, we started prototyping, and within 2 weeks we're back on the shop floor actually testing a prototype on a device with customers to start validating some of the designs that we're doing. So the point about this is these last 3 stages kind of happen in parallel. So you can actually do a full design sprint in a week if you wanted to. And that was kind of the way we were working. We were working in sprints, getting the features out as quickly as possible. And in doing that, we're starting to get a lot of confidence and certainty around the features that we're building because we're actually validating them with, up to 50 people in store at a time. So at each iteration we're testing, overall, during the course of the first couple months, we'd actually tested with 256 customers. So the other thing that we got access to was Target's database of online subscribers, opt-in subscribers. So that meant we could also send out surveys to 30,000 of their customers, and we got 1,200 responses back. So now we've got a lot of confidence that what we're building is appropriate and is going to be valuable to them. So here's some of the designs that we built. So in the first couple of months, we built the iOS app. You can see the barcode scanner there revealing the correct price. We also developed a beautiful feature which turned out to be way more successful than we could have dreamt, which was the Instagram feed. So we knew that mums don't have time to pour through lots of products on a website, but the Instagram feed was a really lovely way to curate that content and to present it in beautifully art-directed photos. And what we actually saw is they started sharing those photos through their own social media channels, which is really rewarding as a designer to see that sort of behaviour. It's the sort of behaviour that just drives up your NPS score. So that was a very welcome part of seeing this application being used in the marketplace. Within 3 months, we had it launched. We had close to 300,000 downloads within the first few months. It was in top 10 in the App Store for its product, for its category rather, in Australia. So we were pretty happy. And we did move fairly quickly, but 3 months is still 3 months. So could you actually start doing some of this innovation more quickly than that? Well, once you've got that digital platform in place, you can actually start innovating at speed. And what you can start to do is actually coming up with ideas and testing them directly in the app. So you can start to do A/B testing, multivariate testing, testing the conversion rate of 2 different designs. You can even start prototyping, which is coming up with an idea for a product that doesn't yet exist and testing it in the online shopping cart. So at that point, you can really start to move at speed. So in the end, we gave Target a platform that they can continue to do lightweight testing and validation on. So that's the first story, and I'm going to hand over to Emma to share the next one.
So it's all very well for Kate. She got to work with a really sexy retail brand. But not every business is a sexy retail brand. So how can we actually create something that's sexy and something that's intuitive and easy to use for a bank? Completely different target market. So how do we actually do this? So how can you innovate at speed? How can you appeal to millennials? And to be fair, most of them don't care about banking, and they're also a very low-value customer to banks, but eventually they could be very high net worth customers to banks. So it's actually quite crucial for banks to actually engage millennials, because eventually they will be the big clients for them, at least they hope. So how can you do that? And then how can you also solve a pain point? And then how can you do something that other competitors aren't doing? How can you create that? And on top of that, how can you make it multi-award winning? So to do this, a lot of people would say it's impossible. But nothing is impossible. So what we did is, I'm going to quickly walk you through a project that I worked on a couple of years ago with a bank. And this whole idea actually started within 24 hours in an innovation day. So a few of you here may have done an innovation day or heard about hackathons. So this was actually inside the bank. They decided they were going to host a 24-hour innovation day. So this is when teams from different departments come together with really cool ideas, and then over 24 hours they actually ideate and they come up with an idea that they then pitch to the rest of the business, rest of the organization. So because you've got 24 hours, it's really hard for you to get all of your customer insights, and it's hard for you to then go and test those ideas. So it's just about, and because you don't want to put a huge amount of effort into it, because you don't know if that idea is actually going to be taken up by the company you work for and taken to the next phase. And sometimes a lot of people just find this is a really good way to be quite creative. So for this, they actually just focused on define, ideate, and then prototype. They just focused on that for the 24 hours. So when one of the members of the team actually, he said, well, there's a problem I see all the time with my friends. I'm out at a restaurant or buying something and I can't split the bill. And it's really hard for me to get the money back from my friends. So I think we should have some kind of feature where we can actually split bills between people. So that was the idea, and he had based it on an experience that he'd had and several of his friends had. So that's where he kind of got the idea from. So it was a little bit of customer insight, but they hadn't been able to test any of it. So this actually won the innovation day. So the bank decided, cool, right, we're going to give you some money for you to then take it a little bit further. So they took it a little bit further and created some kind of mock-ups, sold it to the mobile teams, to the rest of the business, said, we've got this far with this project, so we now want to put this into the mobile app. So somebody in the business said, cool, let's do that. You've got this amount of time, give it to the mobile team. What they failed to mention was they hadn't actually spoken to us, the mobile team. So this thing that they'd created wasn't actually possible to just plonk into the mobile app. It needed to be completely redeveloped and reworked. So as the mobile team, we actually work on a continuous delivery approach. So we were actually launching new releases every 6 to 8 weeks. And this is just to keep up with customer demand, what they're after. So we had 6 weeks to actually build and test this new idea. And we were then also having to implement a new feature into our beloved mobile app that had really good scores on the App Store to a completely new target market that we'd never targeted before. And then on top of that, we were told, right, you've got this strict deadline because we've got this advertising campaign that's going to happen to promote this new product. So, okay, cool. So we've got 6 weeks, usual weeks, and this thing that we haven't even properly tested on users. So, okay, cool. Let's try and solve this problem and get this to work and give a much better customer experience. So the first thing we did is looking at the existing user journey that this team had created. And there was a few flaws that we noticed in there. So first of all, we improved the user journey. And this was just quick paper prototyping. So we improved the user journey. But it's not okay for us to just assume that we've created the right user journey. So what we did is we actually conducted some user testing. So we've got a small group of people together, and we tested our new flow. And it validated quite well. All our customers said, yes, we really like the new flow. It makes perfect sense. There was only a few things that we had issues with, so icons, some of the wording wasn't quite correct. So they were things that were really easy to fix. So the initial face-to-face testing really helped us just validate some of those things. But then we discovered that this project in our little mobile team had been building momentum in the rest of the organisation, to the point where somebody said, right, we're not just going to do a little advertising campaign, we're now going to give you loads of money to do a massive advertising campaign. So we were not only then given this really strict deadline, but they were going to do a huge advertising campaign. And for us on the mobile team, we knew our customers. We get feedback from them all the time. And we didn't want to put something out into the market that was going to potentially fail. So we thought, well, we've only done a small amount of testing, so it's actually really dangerous for us to put this out there because it could damage the brand and damage our ratings on the App Store. And we wanted to make sure that our customers are happy. So we decided as a team that we were going to adopt the get it out and get it right approach. So what we did is we got together as a team and we spoke to the stakeholders and we put our case forward as to why we think it's a really bad idea for them to push it through as it is and try and meet this deadline, because it could potentially fall flat on their face. They could end up having this product that they've released and it doesn't meet expectations of the business or the customers. So we convinced them to actually launch an MVP first. So this is a minimum viable product, which quite a few of you are probably familiar with. So this would allow us to actually test the idea in the marketplace with real customers. And this is going to allow us to actually properly validate the idea before we then spent lots of time and money creating something the users didn't really want. So we worked with our stakeholders, our product owners, and the marketing team to set new deadlines. We didn't get much more of a deadline. We got a little bit of an extension. So our new timings, so we had an additional 5 weeks. So we were going to do all of this with just a team of 9 people. So it's not like we have a huge team of developers like a lot of the banks have. We had a team of 9, and that included 1 BA, 2 QAs. We had 5 developers and 1 designer that was me. So that was how small and lean the team were. So this just shows how quickly you can actually create ideas, innovative ideas, with a small team. You don't have to have a huge team. So this is our team, so we needed to get buy-in from our customers. Now, one of the things we had inside the mobile app already, which is a feature we turn on and off when needed, is a smart banner. So we thought, well, let's just reuse something we've already got to kind of drive people to this new product. But because this was actually aimed at a new target market, we didn't want to fill the whole screen with an advert, because that would turn off a lot of our regular customers who just want to come into their banking app, see what their balance is, and then carry on with their day. They don't want to be faced with an advert. So a smart banner allowed us to actually drive those customers who are interested through to the prototype. And we explained to them that this was a prototype and we wanted their feedback and valued their feedback. So the main mobile app looked like this, but as soon as the users actually went through to the MVP, they could see that it wasn't their usual kind of banking app look and feel when they were playing around with it. So it really gave them the sense of, okay, these guys actually genuinely are building something that's still in prototype stage. And it was really, really valuable for us to actually get this feedback. As soon as this went into the App Store and people started downloading it, we started getting feedback immediately from customers. We could see customers were out there splitting bills, creating some rather unusual names for some of their bills. We had quite a good laugh with some of the names that came through. And then this actually helped us understand if it was going to work in the marketplace. But on top of that, we actually had, as a team, our prioritization list of all the things that we would like to get into this new feature before we launched. And what was really interesting is the things that we'd put on the bottom of the list were actually the things that were most important to the customer and were actually causing most pain for them. So we then flipped our prioritization and focused on those things that we didn't actually think was important. So doing this MVP really gave us that feedback that we needed to make sure that we were actually creating a really great product. But that wasn't enough. We, as a team, we wanted to create an awesome experience for our customers. So we wanted to push this even further. And we knew from our customers that our iOS customers really loved being iOS customers, and our Android customers really loved being Android customers, and you could not get them to, like, you know, work on take a different mobile. They loved their devices and their platforms. So, and the most important thing is we were working with millennials, so we really wanted to focus on creating a great experience for them. So we didn't have a huge amount of time, and we still had to do regression testing and putting it into the App Store, which takes forever. So what we did is we decided we were going to implement more of a native look and feel. So for the Android, we actually adopted the Google Material Design Style Guide, and we also then implemented the gestures that were more intuitive to an Android user. And then on top of that, we then refined the iOS version, and again, making it more native and intuitive to iOS users. So together with the MVP, the face-to-face customer testing, and creating a more native look and feel, this allowed us to actually launch on time a really polished solution that resonated with our customers. And it also reduced the potential impact of launching something that wasn't quite finished and users didn't really like when they went to market. So we ensured that the brand actually still kept its really good name, and we also still kept a really good score in the App Store. So this feature actually went on to win multiple awards for user experience design. And yeah, the team were very happy with that. So this just goes to show that when you get something into your team, if you don't think that it's going to actually achieve what you want it to achieve, you need to push back. So we as a team put together a solid argument as to why we needed more time to actually make sure that this is a valid idea we were putting in and building. Otherwise, it's just a complete waste of time and money. So let's just recap on some of the things that Kate and I have been talking about. So some of the things we've been talking about today are around the exec. So as Kate was saying with Target, you know, getting the execs involved and getting them to really understand the customers, it's hard to do that in some organizations. So we really need to start getting the execs to embrace design thinking. And if they can't embrace design thinking and start pushing that through the rest of the organization, then what they need to do is they need to then give that ownership to the product owners, and then those product owners can actually drive the customer experience and to alleviate it from the exec. And then on top of that, we need to make sure that everybody in the team is responsible for user testing. It's not the responsibility of the designer, it's the responsibility of everybody, from the QAs to the developers to the BA, products. Everybody needs to be involved in the user testing so they can really understand what the user's feedback is. And then we also need to adopt the continuous testing, so don't just test once. Go out there and test multiple different ways, but quickly. You don't have to spend months and months testing. We didn't with the mobile app. So go out there and get that constant testing and feedback. And designers need to be, like Kate was saying, embedded inside delivery teams, because there's no point in having your designers handing designs over to the delivery team without understanding what's technically possible or not. So over to Kate to finish up.
So just in summary, the 5 stages of design thinking. So it begins with the customer, having a genuine conversation and getting to know them. It really helps you focus on your priorities if you can see the world through the eyes of your customer. The second stage is define. So really focusing on real problems, not just working off assumptions. Ideate. That's your opportunity to really strengthen your creative intelligence. Keep it time boxed, keep it fast. This can all happen very, very quickly. Prototyping, it's amazing. As soon as you start visualizing your ideas, you can see what's wrong with them, and your customers will be the first to point that out. And that leads to that last step, test. Test early and often. And as we've said repeatedly, this process can be super fast. You can do it in a week. So finally, Thoughtworkers love recommending books and we love writing books. We've got a couple of authors in the room today, Johnny and Emma. And we've written a few books around design thinking. These are just 3 to get you started. Lindsay and Mark's book on the left there is a few years old now, but it's a great introduction to lean UX. And Johnny's book you've got in your bag. Thank you.